Yellowface lived up to my expectation. Yellowface is a story about white women June Hayward's writing journey. She met Athena Louis during the freshman year at Yale. They both are aspiring writers. That's the only common interest they have. They lived on the same floor, attended the same seminar classes, published short stories in the same literary magazine, and moved to the same city, Georgetown, after graduation. They became friends, not close friends, but friends by circumstance. Isn't it common to be friends by circumstance without really knowing each other? This kind of awkward connection happens in all the relationships when two people are forced to live together. They seem friendly because they are obligated to see each other once in a while. Back to Athena and June. Athena has been successful since her debut novel 3 years ago. Now she got Netflix TV deal. June is not genuinely happy to see Athena's success because she's not been successful like Athena. She's just floating in her career. Also, she's not jealous and will appreciate it if the story is good. They meet occasionally, and June is unmotivated to hang out with Athena. If I were June with Athena, I would be scared of my writing journey more than jealous. One day after the meeting, Athena invites June to her luxurious apartment. June has never been to her apartment, so she's curious to see it. Athena also allows to read her manuscript about the World War One project. She hasn't told anyone about this unpublished manuscript. Then they both feel a kind of good friendship is building. June also feels she doesn't want to filter every word after a long time with Athena. Then they both have a pancake eating contest. They both are enjoying it. Suddenly, Athena doesn't look okay. She's choking. June is terrified and puts pressure on her stomach to unblock the airway. When she tried to call the ambulance, sadly, Athena choked to death on a silly pancakes. Yeah, it is a freaking accident. But I really like the plot twist of how the author killed the likable character in the first chapter and went along the next 300 pages without her. June is not grieving but shocked that Athena is dead. She completes all the formalities. She secretly and cleverly gets away with Athena's manuscript from her apartment. I hope she is going to give life to the story rather than make it dormant. At this point, I will say stealing is wrong. The author keeps the tension high after Athena's death. June edited Athena's manuscript from half finished war story to a sensible grand war epic, The Last Friend. Yellowface is a book about a book. The book Last Friend is a story about the Chinese laborers who were forcefully recruited to fight in World War One by the British. She doesn't want to reveal their true authorship, so keeps it as a secret. She also has some hiccups, like how the story can go wrong since she doesn't have any life experience in China. So she researched all the materials Athena referred to. When her book is chosen to be bestseller, she goes through a different publishing experience than her debut novel. She also knows if the scandal leaks out, she will have a fielding day with the publishing house. On the same time, she has a hard time with an editorial assistant. She gives a 1 star rating in Goodreads for her books. June complains to the publishing house and she got fired for not being courteous. Her book is now the latest breakout success. She really likes the spotlight. She was snubbed by everyone after her debut novel. Now people treat her like they have been friends for a long time in book gatherings. People are deceived when they realize June is white and has written Chinese labor story under Chinese surname Song. Yeah, the publisher asked her to change her surname from Hayward to a middle name Song to go along with the story. So she's greeted with revulsion. People are taunting her at the writing workshops, panel discussion, almost everywhere, and have started making allegations. Also, I found June was apparently guilty most of the time and had to moralize to keep her identity. I felt June was brave. She stood up for herself when she had to, possessing strong personality and growing thicker skin. At this point, I started rooting for June. Yeah, the bad person of this novel. June also has nightmares about Athena's apparition. I started to think it would be similar to a Tale of Two Sisters movie. June is just hallucinating that Athena is still alive. It was like watching a horror film, though the genre is not thriller. At the same time, a Twitter handle with the name Athena Lee Ghost starts hunting her, stating that she stole this manuscript. At this point, June is clearly paranoid about Athena's ghost. She wants to muck out all the taunting commands and death threats to get a good night's sleep. She wants to prove that she did not steal this from Athena to see how far this goes. Is June going to be the bait of the controversy while swimming in the attention, or is she going to survive her haters without revealing the secret? Or is she going to write her next story for the money making publishing industry? Or will she be abandoned for her dereliction of writing duty? Will she ever attain literary stardom? It's all the rest of the story. This book would be a guide for aspiring writers who don't know anything about publishing industry or marketing, but only writing. She sprinkled ideas about where to get the facts from museum. People usually don't let others know about their steps to success, but I felt Kuang has written generously to make aspiring writers aware of publishing and a few story ideas. How June smartly handled the critics or detractors and emerged from fallouts and attained big satisfaction is more than half of the story. I can't agree she was smart all the time. She also seemed iffy. When I read Big Magic, I felt it was like motivation to write, but Yellowface is like living in the author's shoes and knowing their struggle. I just don't want to say it is an interesting book. It is a non word. I tried to assimilate this book. I saw two phases, or to be precise, two tones in every scene. Usually, we will all have an inner self. In Rebecca F. Kong's case, another inner writer. I couldn't read the story as either Athena or June, but as Kuang. For instance, she would be the June in Kuang to mentor the underrepresented writers, but also the rude Athena in Kuang getting angry at the wannabe writers of her ethnicity. I felt both are Kuang's life as June and Athena. Kuang is diasporic in Athena's voice, but also shows the identity of Chinese in June's white voice. It was cleverly manipulated to have two stands all the time. The author doesn't want to create any problematic situations, so she played a dual role, hurting and glorifying two parties. So it is not a cringe, but shows the dark nature of the publishing industry. The author wanted to showcase the authenticity of the Chinese restaurant with a bit of an incident like June going to the Chinatown dining in and an waitress identifying her as a viral author on the internet, which seemed a bit unrealistic to me. That is the only bad part of this book. When an author has an aversion to anything, they will say it in an utterly brilliant, mocking way. Kuang has done really well on this part to the extent of Girl, Women, Other. For instance, I sense she may not like Star Wars, loyalty badges, or Indian novels, other than Bengali American Jumba Lahiri stories. Kuang has even criticized satirically the editor's job. A bad draft is far easier than composing on a blank page. Mean and snide remarks are funnily thrown back and forth all over the book. It was written in a bloody, anxious, witty state. Kuang is smart and savvy because though I feel this is her own fake story, she did not write this as her debut, which could have been published but was mostly censored. She wants the world to hear the truth about the current publishing industry working model before this story slips into someone else's head. She won the race, writing Yellowface. The author never missed a chance to represent her home country. Imitation novels have been all over the internet. I'm not sure if that is the influence of the Yellowface. The writing is gorgeous. A simple sentence with proper word choices will definitely rip your heart out. The story is fast. Kwang never lost of storyline to get me into some nonsensical flashback. After Yellowface, I want to read Kwang's other novels, especially Babel. This is my second five-star read of this year next to Girl, Women, Other. I agree the hype for the Yellowface on the internet. I heard the binding cover was white earlier, mine is black. If it were white, it would perfectly match the story. A white person disguising an yellow face. I hope no one wants cultural appropriation. Yellowface teaches that we should not take groundless comments, assumption, threats, or allegation to the heart because they might make us push over. Though this story closely may relate to the true blue tick holders than general audience, We should check the internet if the internet cooks perfectly fitting story to make this villain or bad person out of us from the bits and pieces of information available all over the internet. Until the next video, lots and lots of hugs